If the evolution of the league makes it clear that Jordan 6 is greater or at least equivalent to Russell's 11, then what is the equivalent to Jordan's 6 rings in today's NBA?
6 rings. All right, welcome to the show, everybody. I hope you guys are having a great day so far. So, I actually picked this one all on my own, and this popped up on my feed last night while I was chilling at the end of the night. And, yeah, I definitely want to react to this. This is JxmyHighroller, of all people, but this is titled, There May Never Be Another GOAT. And it's an interesting thumbnail. It's got Jordan dead center without an X through him, and then it's got all these other, like, recent stars with crosses right through them, like X's right through them. However, there's no LeBron James on the thumbnail. So knowing JxmyHighroller, I'm like, I gotta see what the hell is going on here, and I gotta react to it just in case it's like one of those things like we gotta call some stuff out. But either way, let's find out together, guys. I'm linking the original video from Jimmy down below in the description of this one. There you'll see a list of channel members. Shout out to channel members. I appreciate you guys. I say let's get right into this, though, and see exactly what the heck is going on with this video. The reason I say all the stuff I say in the intro is Jimmy is notorious for, like, you know, it's always LeBron as the GOAT. So is he, like, promoting MJ as the GOAT now? Like, what's going on? Let's find out. Guys, like the video. Hype the video if you could. I'd appreciate it. And let's get right to this, guys.
How much is an NBA championship worth?
After 53 years, the Knicks are finally NBA champions once again.
A ring is a ring, but intuitively, we as fans know that not all rings hold the same value. I ask this question because 2 weeks ago, the New York Knicks did what many doubted they could, and they didn't just win the NBA Finals, they completely dominated in the finals on their way to their first championship in over half a century.
Agreed. I'm happy for these guys, man. I'm proud of those guys in a way. It was a weird feeling when the series was over, you know, since I was rooting for San Antonio, but like once it came to the end, like, man, I felt myself cheering for the Knicks a little bit, just like, they had so much heart. It's hard not to get behind that and support it.
While fans celebrated and the city of New York rejoiced in their rise back to glory, there was one reaction to their success and the culture of winning in the NBA that made headlines.
I like to know that greatness is validated. How do we know that any of the last 8 champions are actually validated because they have not done it again? Giannis is itching to get out. Boston is thinking about trading Jaylen Brown. They don't believe in their one championship. LeBron's one championship in LA was not enough. So why would it be enough for us?
Validate is the Larry O'Brien that I put on that shelf and stays there forever. That's the validation.
Yeah.
The Laker thing.
Oh, you mean participation trophy then?
I'm sorry, Larry O'Brien is a participation?
What the hell? Are you guys bored? You guys got nothing else to talk about on ESPN? Like, really? Is this even ESPN? I don't watch mainstream. Yeah, it is. It's on the bottom left. Like, this is what you guys got. This is what you guys got. It's a participation trophy. Guys, let me break this down real quick. There's levels to this, okay? So all these teams that are winning one championship, dude, they are enshrined forever. You know, legacy's intact. There will be, because of Larry O'Brien trophy, it will be remembered. However, don't compare that to a dynasty. That's what makes a dynasty so rare and so special. Maybe we got spoiled for a while because it was happening often. However, you're not supposed to see a team like go 3 in a row very often. We just happened to get it with Jordan and Kobe. You know what I mean? But now that we haven't had it in a while, you want to act like the championship is a participation trophy. No, those are still the bar of excellence. There's a level above that called dynasties, which means you storm the castle, you take the kingdom, and you secure it for 3 years, you know, or more. Maybe you secure the castle for freaking 6 years. That's rare, and we celebrate that differently.
If everybody gets one.
Yes, you heard that correctly.
If everybody gets one. All right, Jimmy, you take it over. Go ahead.
The pinnacle of the sport, the ultimate goal every basketball player sets to achieve from the first time they ever lace up, is nothing but a participation trophy. This, my friends, is a symptom of ring culture. when nothing matters.
I don't know, Jimmy. I think that's a symptom of a clickbaiter. Like, that's all he was doing. He was trying to make some headlines so maybe he gets invited back to the show more often. That's what I'm seeing here. Somebody comes in with a wild, crazy take, and then everybody responds.
Hoisting the trophy at the end of the season, and even that is invalid if you've only done it once. But
according to who? Guys, I am I crazy? Am I crazy? Let me know in the comments. Team wins a championship, you take it seriously, right? Or do you just be like, or are you automatically like, it's just one? Because I think it's a big deal. Giannis winning in 2022, big deal. Knicks just winning right now, huge deal. JB winning finals MVP, I thought that was monstrous, you know? Jokic. If the Suns were to win a damn championship, this would be a huge deal. I wouldn't be complaining about a lack of a repeat or a three-peat. I'd be happy we got to the top of the mountain. Please let me know. Because I feel like I'm taking crazy pills so far in this video.
Culture fails to address one key thing. Not all rings are created equal.
And not everybody who wins a ring or anybody who is an all-star needs to be in a GOAT debate. You know, there's levels.
Dirk Nowitzki has one ring.
Yeah,
but
legend.
It was arguably the most difficult championship won in modern NBA history.
And who here doesn't respect Dirk for that championship? We talk about it all the time in the comments.
It's held to such high regard, it might as well be 2 rings. But then there's Kevin Durant, who actually does have 2 rings, but he had to join an already polished, record-breaking Warriors team to get them.
And that's also proof that more is not always better, because we respect Dirk's a lot more than we respect KD's.
Dirk's 1 is almost universally regarded as greater than Durant's 2.
Absolutely.
And this same logic can be applied in different circumstances, even across eras. Which player is greater? The guy with 11 rings or the guy with 6?
Yeah.
Probably the player who has 11, right? Well, what if the player who won 11 did it in the 60s when the league only had 8 to 14 teams?
I know.
And what if the guy with 6 won them in historically dominant fashion in a much more competitive league?
Yep.
Going against everything you learned in math class, in some situations, 6 is actually greater than 11. But can this same exact logic be applied to today's league? If the evolution of the league makes it clear that Jordan's 6 is greater or at least equivalent to Russell's 11, then what is the equivalent to Jordan's 6 rings in today's NBA?
6 rings. I'm sorry to simplify it, but like, yeah, that's the equivalent of the 6 rings is to get 6 rings. And if you want to show your dominance, then some three-peats would help. Do I expect anyone to do it? Not really. Is it possible, though? Hell yeah, it's possible. You just got to be, I mean, it just takes that level of commitment and dedication. What do you guys think? I don't think anything has changed. You know, the game's gotten softer, so I'm not going to make the rules softer as far as the qualifiers. They're going to stay the same, at least.
2 rings? 3? It sounds like a crazy concept at first.
No, Jimmy, 6.
The idea of 2 or 3 rings vaulting a player into the same conversation as players who dominated an entire generation of basketball. But the further we get into this era of parity in the NBA, the more this idea feels like a reality. So how much is a championship actually worth?
I mean, the way I always saw it from a young man all the way till now, and you know, as a young boy dreaming of being in the NBA and all that stuff, I'm sure a lot of you could relate. That's the validation for the rest of your life. You win on the biggest stage. You're a champion. You're a champion for life. That was the goal. Like, that was the dream. So I don't like the idea of you winning a championship and then it gets, you know, it's invalidated. I don't get it. You know, we all have tiers of this. We all have Mount Rushmores and stuff. But, you know, nobody on anyone's top 10 has less than 4 championships. So like I said, there's just different levels.
Today's video is sponsored by Arena Club. If you grew up collecting sports cards like me, searching for that one player, that one season, that one card you've always wanted, Arena Club brings that feeling back in the best way possible. On Arena Club, you can open digital packs that contain real, graded cards. From the NBA to the NFL, Pokemon, and more. Packs start at $25, with each tier of slab pack showing you exactly what you can hit and the pull rates before you buy. Purchase your slab pack, one click to rip, instant reveal, no boxes to hunt down, no grading wait times. Love the card you pulled? Flex it in your digital showroom for others to see. You can also put it up for auction or have the physical card shipped directly to you.
Okay, that's cool.
The choice is yours. In fact, we're
just
gonna
want
rip
Jordan
a pack
rookie.
right now. This time I've got a Ruby basketball pack lined up. Here's a sneak peek at some of the potential grails you can hit out of the Ruby packs. Hoping for something good today. Here we go, boys. All right, Jalen Duren Prism Black Auto Gen Mint 10. Young All-NBA talent with a rising stock. I'll take it. Now, like any card you pull from a slab pack, Arena Club instantly offers you cash for the card based on fair market value. So if it's a card you love, keep it. And if it's not the player you wanted, you can instantly take the offer and roll it right into another pack. Join me on Arena Club, where you can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/Jimmy and using code JXMY. That's arenaclub.com/Jimmy, code JXMY.
Y'all know I'm old because I still like the actual physical pack and actually like holding the card and all that stuff. Like, that's the excitement of opening a pack to me, is like, you know, clumsily like fumbling through opening the pack and trying not to damage any cards and all that crap. That's excitement for me. I'm old though.
I think winning a guy winning 3 rings now in the 2020s with especially the second apron stuff, and I think it would be even in a weird way more impressive because everybody's better at putting together a team, and we also have more high-end talent, right? Giannis has only won 1 title too.
If Jokic wins 1 title and that's it, he's going to be the ultimate sort of barometer for this, because the statistics are going to say he's a top whatever single-digit player of all time.
I think the big thing to remember when you talk about this stuff is what era was the guy in and how good was the league, how competitive it was, right? And I just wonder, like, is it just everybody's going to win 1 or 2 now going forward?
I think everyone's getting a little crazy here. 2 examples from the past I can lay out. 1, Jerry West only won 1 championship. Why? Because the competition was that steep. Okay? So yeah, he only won 1. We still we consider him in very high regards, but he ends up missing out on a lot of people's top 10 list. Unfortunately, it's sad because he's one of the greatest shooting guards of all time. Another one, Wilt Chamberlain, same era, same team oftentimes, same situation. You know what I mean? Not nearly as many championships as he would have gotten if he was in a different era, possibly. But, you know, he had to go through the freaking Celtics. 3rd example, Larry Bird. Yes, I know he won 3 championships, but if he was in a different era, in other words, he wasn't going against Magic Johnson in the West and then, you know, Dr. J and Moses on the Sixers in the East, he could have won a lot more than 3 championships as well. So just because there's steep competition, it doesn't mean that there's an excuse to change it. Jokic right now can't win another championship because they're not building a good enough team for him. This happens. Giannis has been in the same situation as well. And we'll see. But for all we know, the Knicks could repeat next year. How do we know? OKC almost did it. We all thought they might do it this last season. So this idea of winning multiple championships, it's not impossible. We just haven't seen it in a while, you know? But I don't know. I don't think it's one of those things like nobody can do it now, so we have to treat 1 like it's 6 or 3. I don't think that's fair. That would be a participation type situation, you know?
Ring culture has been a highly debated topic for a while now. The idea that rings are not just a measure of a player's greatness, but the only measure of a player's greatness.
They're not the only
For as long as fans have been debating, rings have reigned supreme in measure.
Guys, they're not the only one. I mean, Charles Barkley, Reggie Miller, like, I just, like, we don't have to do this. Karl Malone, even though I don't like him, John Stockton, you know what I mean? Like, it's not the only measure of greatness. It just, like, it's a nail in a coffin. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, Brunson. I've been watching him since he was a Maverick, actually, and I've been very impressed with his game. This whole time I'm wondering, does he have what it takes to get, to the top of the mountain? Well, he just validated that and confirmed it for me. I've had the same thought about like Ant-Man is another one. Wemby, obviously, you guys know, is another one. I'm watching him. Does he have what it takes to do it? But, like it doesn't mean that if he doesn't do it, he's not great. They're still great. But, it's I hate to keep repeating myself. There's levels, there's tiers. There's champion great, and then there's you're so great, history still remembers you like you were a champ. And that's how I think of all those guys that listed, like Charles Barkley. We think of you as a champion, even though you didn't get it.
Measuring a player's dominance. In spite of everything a player does throughout his career, winning or not winning a championship will be the final verdict of his abilities. It is the ultimate barometer of how great a player is and was. But what do we do if that barometer breaks? What do we do when the criteria for measuring greatness isn't properly calibrated? If winning a ring in today's NBA is more difficult than it was in the past, and the weight a ring holds depends on how difficult it was to obtain, are we reaching the point where the NBA is so competitive and so deep that 2 or 3 rings can be as great as 6? Parity, or a state in which things are equal, equivalent, or evenly matched, is a good thing. When things are more equal, more teams have a chance to win, more fans are engaged, and of course, more players have a chance to win. And right now, the NBA is seeing more parity both in terms of championship teams and even winning teams than it ever has before. Of course, this was not always the case in the NBA. Here is a timeline of players who had the most rings in the NBA in any given season, dating back to 1969 when Bill Russell won his 11th championship. A record that still holds up today and will more than likely hold up until the end of time.
Probably.
But similar to today, the 70s were also a time of growing parity in the NBA. 7 different teams won a championship over the course of the decade. And so going into the 80s, the active leader in rings had just 3. But it didn't take long for that total to grow again. By the mid-80s, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar held the crown before he ended the decade with 6 championships under his belt and passed the torch to Magic, who had 5. Shortly after, the Chicago Bulls took over the lead, and it was Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen who had the most championships of any active players clear up until the early 2000s. By 2005, the crown swapped heads between Shaq, Kobe, and Duncan up until 2016 when both Kobe and Duncan retired and Tony Parker held the crown for a few seasons before retiring and LeBron winning his 4th championship in 2020. A couple years later, the Warriors won a ring in 2022, and since then, nothing has changed.
You know what happened right around here? The teams stopped staying together, especially when we get to about, I'd say about here. Teams really stop staying together. So that's a big part of the problem. It's hard to win 3 championships, right? I'm not even saying back to back to back like a three-peat. It's hard to win 3 championships in an era, one team, if every single year you're losing and gaining key players. You're firing coaches. You're blowing up teams. Look what the Lakers did after they won the bubble. They blew up their team. Look at JB getting just completely disrespected by the Celtics. How the hell are you supposed to defend titles if you keep blowing up the key pieces in your teams, including coaches? That used to not happen. Teams used to stick together a lot more in the previous eras than they do now.
Changed. Which leads us to where we are today, where among Hall of Famers and all-time greats, the active players with the most rings in the league today are LeBron, Steph, Clay, and Draymond, each with 4. But what happens when these players are gone? Soon enough, these guys will retire, and the next group of players will take the mantle as the league's legacy players.
You can't build a dynasty by ring chasing. You have to stay put and build.
Jokic, Giannis, Luka, Shea, Tatum, all of these players with either 0 or just 1 ring. Now, we don't know how the next decade of basketball will play out. 1 or 2 of these players could go on a tear and win 2, 3 rings. But if the past 8 seasons is any indication of what's to come, even the greatest players in the league today may struggle to win more than one championship throughout the course of their entire career, which, according to ring culture, disqualifies them from being included among the true all-time greats of the sport. Are these current players simply not as great as those that came before them?
I hate to say it, but so far they haven't done anything to deserve to be on that level. You know? And like I'm saying, top 10. Or if he's talking Mount Rushmore, dude, Mount Rushmore is four people. You got to win a lot more than one to get there. Yeah, absolutely. But it doesn't mean you have to win 6 in order to be great. No. That's not the standard. It's weird. Cuz greatness is greatness, you know? But I guess we're all changing when it comes to this. Like, if you're not the greatest, then you're not great. And I don't believe that. There's hundreds and hundreds of NBA players from the past and present that are absolutely great. That's what the Hall of Fame is for. That's what that recognition is. Like, you were elite at your job. And then the ones who stack rings, yeah, you're just fighting over who's the greatest now. That's a crazy thing to be fighting over. Who's the greatest of all time? Who's the greatest 4 of all time? That's not everybody can get there, dude. There's too many players in the league actively right now that are all-stars and stars that would love to be on there, but there's not that much room. The top 10 keeps getting more and more convoluted.
Or are we misinterpreting the value of a championship altogether?
For joining us. This is incredible. You'll be back during the playoffs at some point, so we're looking forward to that. 7 rings. Can you just
yeah, get this guy in the Hall of Fame. Like now, get him in the Hall of Fame.
This one. Nah, dog, you got to earn it. It would be right, man.
Hold on, what?
Can you just loan him one?
Championship?
Nah, dog, you got to earn it. It would be right, man. Gave it to you, right? You did a lot of great things in NBA, but you know.
You heard the man. You got to earn your rings.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was a big T-Mac fan. I'm with Rob. I'm with Big Shot here. Because T-Mac, you got to get out of the first round when you're the star. Okay? You got to get out of the first round if you think a championship. It starts there. First round, buddy. Can you get there? Can you get to the second round? No? Okay. I don't want to hear it then.
If there's any player that knows a thing or two about rings, it's this guy. Robert Horry. He's got the most rings of any player in modern NBA history. 7 championships in his 16-year career, and he hits some of the biggest shots in playoff history. Thus, giving
I was a fan of his back when he was a rookie with Houston. I was a big fan of his, man. Until he was a Laker, then I hated him, and then I had to hate him actually his whole career because I liked him personally. However, he was always on my enemies. The Rockets at that time, main enemy. And then the Lakers, obviously, and then the Spurs were a huge enemy as well. Damn that, man. Hella good player, though, man. Great defender. Underrated.
Nickname Big Shot Bob. And he said this to Tracy McGrady, who, of course, never won a ring. And by ring culture standards, this is a perfectly normal and applicable thing for Mr. 7 Rings to say to Mr. 0 Rings. There's only one problem. Robert Horry averaged 8 points a game in the playoffs, was not the driving force behind those rings, and only even started in 2 of those championship runs. Tracy McGrady is one of the 50 greatest players to ever lace up. This is the effect ring culture has on basketball. If you didn't know any better.
I mean, guys, I respect Robert Horry more than I respect T-Mac now. Am I crazy? Let me know if I'm crazy in the comments. But like championship culture, like if I'm trying to build a championship team or a dynasty, I'm picking Robert Horry to be on my team, dude. He's going to do a lot of the intangibles that are not going to go on record. And he's also a clutch performer. T-Mac is a great individual performer. He'll rack up a lot of points, but he's not going to be there when I need him. So I'm picking Robert Horry, y'all, and I also get to pay him less. So we got more space in the cap to get even more better players. You know what I mean? Well, T-Mac will be asking for the max. So am I crazy for saying if I wanted a championship, I would pick Robert Horry over T-Mac? So I mean, T-Mac saying you got to earn one. I'm sorry, Robert Ory saying you got to earn one to T-Mac. I'm with him. Yeah, I agree.
You would think Charles Barkley was an absolute slouch the way Shaquille O'Neal addresses him on television. That his opinion on winning and dominating the field is invalid because he never won a ring. Charles Barkley was a league MVP, went toe-to-toe with MJ in the finals, and was one of the best players of an entire generation. When rings mean everything, not winning one, or in some cases not winning enough of them, means you'll always be one step below those who did, regardless of everything else you accomplished. Which begs the question, if the NBA is truly in an era of parity and the evolution of the league now makes it nearly impossible for a couple of players to hoard multiple championships for themselves, how will we remember Nikola Jokic if he only retires with one? How will we remember Giannis?
We'll remember him like Dirk. I will, at least, if he only wins one and he spends his entire career in Denver and they never put together any great teams ever again. I'll talk about him just like Dirk. Like, he pulled off a miracle one year, won a championship. He was one of the best in the era. And yeah, that's it. Nothing much else to say. Same with Giannis. If he only gets one, well, now he's not with Milwaukee anymore, so it's a little bit different. But same thing. If you only get one, dude, you're still on that list of greats. There's so many greats like Allen Iverson and Reggie Miller, excuse me, that towards the end of their career, I was really, really pushing. Even if I'm not a fan of the team they're on, I was really, really hoping they win a championship before it's too late. Chris Paul was another one where I really wanted these guys to win one, because once you do, it's locked down for the rest of history. You're a champ. So I'm having a hard time with this video because it's the exact opposite angle, which is one championship means nothing. And I never believed that. I always believed that one, and you're validated for life.
Antetokounmpo, if he only retires with one, or Luka Doncic, if or when he gets to that point. At this rate, will anyone ever get within reach of GOAT status? And is this
They got a lot of work to do.
Parity really just an era, or is this just the new standard for the NBA and what's to come in the future?
I think it's showing how difficult it is to repeat a championship and how we took it for granted in the past. That's what I think it's showing. We got spoiled with three-peats and, back-to-backs. We had those with like the Lakers. We had those with the Pistons, then the Bulls with their 3-3, and then the Lakers with their 3. Then Kobe again with the Lakers with his 2. We've gotten spoiled with this, thinking that it's easy, but it was never supposed to be easy to be a repeat champion.
From Dustin Nielsen, why is ring culture so much more prevalent in the NBA than in other sports?
I don't know why it's discussed so much in our sport.
I don't know why you chasing so much in your sport if it don't mean that much. Why are you chasing again right now, LeBron? Huh? Why didn't you stay in LA? Take the minimum. LeBron? Is it about rings and ring culture?
And why is the A-all, B-all?
Mm-hmm.
It's that quote. All right. I'll let him talk.
Why is ring culture so much more prevalent in the NBA than in other sports?
I don't know why it's discussed so much in our sport. And why it's the A-all, B-all of everything. Like, okay. Or if you won one, then you can't be in the same conversation with this person. It's like,
but that's a great point, because what you're saying is like, no matter what you have, you need more. No matter what.
Right.
No matter what. It can never end.
Yeah. A ring is a team accomplishment.
Right. We got to be careful sometimes how we can be so dismissive of a team, a player, an accomplishment, or a failure, because these are the best in the world, no matter how you slice it.
Well, and also, let's be fair. He's one of those cases that we're talking about who didn't quite win a championship. But I personally respect the hell out of Steve Nash and what he did on a basketball court. Not so much for what he's doing on his podcast, but I respected the hell out of him as a basketball player. And I thought he fought like a warrior year after year until his body gave out. I'm sorry, though, Nash. I really wanted you to get one. It didn't happen, But there is a ring culture. because whoever did lock that down, there's only one. There can only be one. And that's why I never think too much about like who lost in the finals. It's about who won in the finals. That's what history remembers. It's just how it is. I'm not a political person, but isn't that how anything goes? Politics. Do we remember, I mean, unless it's because of like funny SNL skits, do we remember 20 years ago who lost the election? No, we remember who won the election. You know, those people get forgotten over time. We might remember them right now in the moment, like the most recent one, but in 20 years, we're going to forget who's running against who. We just remember, oh yeah, that was 4 years of this guy. It was 4 years of that lady, whatever. That's how we remember it. And same with sports. Who won what? Just like we don't remember silver medals. Does it mean it's fair? I don't know. But that's just the way it's always been. And I think it's always going to be that way. Our brains only have the capacity to remember one.
No matter how you slice it.
He doesn't have a ring. It's like, have you actually sat down and actually like really looked at this guy's career and what he was able to accomplish, you know?
Yeah, you can still be great, but you're not a champion. You can still be a Hall of Famer, but you can't be a champion. It's not a participation trophy, LeBron. You have to win it and seize it.
This was LeBron's take on ring culture last summer on a podcast with Steve Nash. A sensible take on a highly debated topic. Rings are great. They are the pinnacle of the sport, but they shouldn't completely define a player's legacy. And I'm sure
they don't. That's why Robert Horry has 7, but he's not on the Mount Rushmore for anybody I know. He's not in the top 10 of anybody I know. Why? Because championships are not the only qualifier. Jimmy, you're wrong on this one because and LeBron is wrong on this one. That's the proof that it's not the only qualifier. If it was, he'd be above Jordan. We'd be saying like he's the GOAT. But you have to also be like the star and the biggest producer on your team in order to qualify. So you have to be the best and you have to win championships in order to get to this elite level that everyone is trying to get to. You need both. One or the other doesn't quite do it. And I think that's part of the reason a lot of people have trouble with Bill Russell and placing him, because the question is, I mean, the general consensus is he was the best defender on the team, but he was by far not the best offensive player on the team. You know what I mean? That probably goes to Kuzi. So it becomes a little bit of a complication here, you know? But when you got a guy like Jordan, for instance, this is clearly the best guy. He's a driving force on both ends. He's the reason they got to where they got, and they stacked 6 championships. That is why there's a difference between him and Robert Horry. Feel me?
Response to LeBron's stance were just as reasonable and rational as his was.
Factually incorrect. I'm just saying he took individual credit.
No, you didn't do that.
And he did take individual credit for that last championship. I want my damn respect. Or the previous one, his third one. That one right there made me the greatest of all time.
No,
give me my Balco.
Keep it right. Hey, you can't.
Actually, people lost their minds, still clinging to the idea that rings are, in fact, the defining factor of a player's legacy. But if we don't know how to measure a player's greatness, and neither does LeBron, then maybe Michael Jordan himself might have some answers.
You're never going to say who's the greatest of all time. To me, I think that's more for PR and more for selling stories and getting hype. Jack and Tiger never played against each other. They never played in the same tournament. They never played with the same equipment. They never played with the same, length of golf course. I never played against Will Chamberlain. I never played against, Jerry West. To now say that, one's greater than the other is being a little bit, unfair. Yeah, Jack probably has 18 majors and Tiger's got 14. And I think those are when, that's how people are judging certain things. I won 6 championships. Bill Russell won 11. Does that make Bill Russell better than me and make me better than him? No, because we play at different eras. So when you try to equate who's the greatest of all time, It's an unfair parallel. It's an unfair choice.
What Michael is alluding to is precisely the flaw with using rings as a measuring stick for greatness.
And that's why, man, MJ's that guy. Because if he was insecure at all, or he really cared about this GOAT stuff, then he'd be defending himself and making a case for himself like LeBron does. But instead, he's like, no, it's not even fair to call me the GOAT. You know, we got a guy, LeBron, who calls himself the GOAT and demands everybody else call him that. And then we got the real GOAT here, Jordan, who is saying it's not even fair if somebody else says it. It's not fair if I say it. It's not fair if somebody else calls me the GOAT. I didn't beat those guys. So why am I automatically better than them? It doesn't get better than this.
Ring culture tends to ignore context. The era they played in, the path a team had to go through, the fashion in which they won it, when in reality, it is the context itself that is the true measure of a player's game. Steph Curry is the greatest shooter of all time and arguably the greatest point guard of all time, and he's got 4 rings to prove it. But even for a player of his caliber, getting to 4 took an extremely unlikely set of circumstances to pull off. It took one of the greatest players of all time in his prime joining their 73-win team, as well as a historic salary cap spike in that exact offseason to create the perfect storm to build on their already championship roster. It took 2 completely unprecedented events for a generational talent to get to 4 rings. A similar sentiment could be said about LeBron, a top 2 player to ever touch a basketball, and he had to leave the team that drafted him, build a juggernaut in Miami, and put together the greatest comeback in NBA history just to get to 4 rings. And not only did it take extreme circumstances for these 2 to get 4, it took circumstances that are essentially impossible in today's league. Part of this is due to the natural evolution of the league and the sport, and part of it is by design. The irony of this clip and the take that came with it is that right before Vincent Goodwill said it, he actually explained exactly what makes championships today extremely valid.
I think dynasty is better for the sport because if we're going to look at the way that the NBA experienced its golden age, those 2 decades where it went from Magic and Bird and Isaiah in between to Michael Jordan, that's where you had the greatest explosion in growth. And it's not just because those guys hoarded the championships. Now you're legislating parity. The owners are saying you aren't allowed to be great for an extended period of time because look at Oklahoma City with Durant and Westbrook and Harden. They weren't allowed to keep their 3 guys together because the money says, okay, you drafted too well. You drafted 3 MVPs. Yeah. You can't hold on to them.
I'm going to stop him right there. They could hold on to them if everybody didn't ask for the max. So it's up to everybody on an individual level to come together and decide they want the same thing. Is it money? Or is it championships and a little less money, but still a lot of money? A lot of money. It takes a whole bunch of individuals to come together to create a dynasty. It doesn't just happen out of thin air. And you can't just give these teams unlimited money because guess what? If it's not for the cap, the salary cap, then everyone's going to ask for more money anyways and still break up. So the reason I said it earlier, and I'll reemphasize, the reason why it's so much harder now to defend titles is because teams don't stick together after they win championships. And that's why I take a lot of heat for this. However, when Kawhi Leonard won that championship with Toronto and then left to go to LA right after that and didn't defend his championship, I felt that was the worst precedent that could ever be set by a star. And all of you guys are going to reply like you always do and say, well, he always planned on going to LA. Cool. But you just won a championship here in Toronto. Don't you want to defend your title? But he abandoned the team. He's not the only one. That's just a huge example because he was the guy, you know? Imagine Michael Jordan wins a championship in 1991 and then ditches for LA. We'd be like, what the hell was that all about? Defend your title, MJ, you know? So that's the way it is now. It's more about the money, it's more about the fame, and it's more about, you know, where you're being placed. For instance, if you want to be on a beach or you want to be, you know, Los Angeles where the stars are, blah, blah, blah. You want to be in New York where all the hype is, all this stuff. That's what matters to most players, but that's also what makes players like Steph Curry so awesome to me. You know, he stayed his whole career in Golden State through the ups and the downs, and he got 4 championships out of it. I think that's pretty fantastic. But that's the reason I see it. So I don't like this, you know, what he said here. It's the league won't allow you to have a dynasty anymore. I wholeheartedly disagree. The individual players asking for the max is what's preventing that. How much more you want, man? People making $50 million a year? You really, what do you want at that point? Do you want an extra 10? I understand if you do, but I also understand if you say 50 is enough, but let's stay together and let's win a championship together again. Let's defend our title. I respect that a little more, in fact.
Of smarter teams, better front offices, advanced analytics, deeper rosters, larger talent pools including international players, and rules set in place explicitly designed to prevent teams from building dynasties. It is harder now, or at least as I've said before, it is more equitable now to win a championship than ever before. This era of parity could very well be a phase in NBA history. Eventually, someone has to lead their team to multiple titles among this generation of great players. But we have evidence that what we are seeing now is only the beginning of what's to come. 2 years ago, the NBA introduced the second apron, a set of rules created in the 2023 collective bargaining agreement that has since made it virtually impossible for teams to build a great roster and keep that roster intact. Due to a laundry list of financial penalties and restrictions, in today's NBA, winning a championship is as difficult as it's ever been, and winning another one has become, at least to this point, an insurmountable task. In today's league, KD signing with the Warriors wouldn't even be possible. LeBron building a team in Miami wouldn't and couldn't happen. Running it back with the same proven core year after year.
No.
Couldn't happen.
Hold on. This happened because they all took pay cuts. So, sorry. That one's not true. And the other one's good. I don't want this to happen anymore. I don't want Miami big threes anymore. These guys stayed together organically, okay? They all got drafted, and they all stuck together. Why? In the pursuit of championships. And that's why, no matter what, they beat our ass in the playoffs all the time. I have the utmost respect for these guys because they all could have made a lot more money if they chose to. However, they chose greatness and legacy instead.
Back with the same proven core year after year isn't even feasible.
You just have to take less money.
If a prime LeBron or Steph or MJ were attempting to make real championship runs in today's league, in spite of their talents, the odds would be stacked against them, and the path would be more difficult than it was 10, 15, 30 years ago.
Actually, I think if you stick together year after year and you're a solid unit, you have the advantage over all these brand new super teams. You have what they don't have. Chemistry, chemistry, and you have experience together. You know who you can rely on. You know who's capable of what. You know who's supposed to step up at certain times. I think the advantage goes there, not that it's just building super teams out of the blue and expecting yourself to win right out of the gate year one. And then if it doesn't, you blow it up and you go somewhere else. I don't think there's a lot of strength and longevity in that. So I disagree because of what I've seen, and all the greatest teams of all time, they became great because they stayed together. They didn't win the first year. They had to go through heartaches, heartbreaks, pain to get to the top. And once they got to the top, because of those heartbreaks and the pain, they didn't want to separate and blow it up. They wanted to experience that euphoria for longer because of the amount of pain they experienced leading up to that moment. That's why people were willing to take less money. And that's why people were willing to sacrifice back then for it, because they saw this as the greater good, the more important thing. Now it's just money. Everybody who wins a championship, it's like your value goes up, so you go anywhere, it doesn't matter, and you expect the maximum amount of money. Nothing else seems to be considered.
The NBA has literally created rules that force teams to choose between keeping their current roster intact and maintaining the flexibility needed to improve on their roster in the future. And we're seeing these rules crumble teams in real time. After winning a ring in 2024, the Celtics traded Kristaps Porzingis and Drew Holiday just to give themselves flexibility and stay below the second apron. The current rules of the league...
If Porzingis really wanted to stay on the championship team, then he could have accepted less money. But it just depends on your priorities. And I'm not saying either priority is wrong. I'm just saying this is life. You know? This is life. We do this in the workforce too. You want to make less money and stay at the company that you're happy at? Or do you want to make more money and go to a company you might be miserable at? We have these choices to make in life. Porzingis made his. He's going for the paycheck. Okay, much respect. That's cool. But it's not like, oh, that's the NBA's fault. No. That's an individual making an individual decision for his life. And in this case, he prioritized the money. And you know what? Porzingis is so injury prone. I think I kind of understand. I don't think he's thinking he's going to be here for too long.
A championship team to immediately blow up their roster. The man who helped propel the Knicks to their title this season, Karl Anthony Towns, is only on the Knicks because the Timberwolves couldn't afford to keep him after making it to the conference finals.
Why couldn't they afford to keep him? Oh, because of money.
And we're only going to see more of this as teams continue to adapt to rules specifically made to prevent historic runs and dynasty contenders. If becoming the GOAT requires a player to match Jordan's 6 rings, or match LeBron's 4 for that matter, then fans of the NBA may need to once again reevaluate what a ring is truly worth within the context of when it was won. If winning only one championship, or even worse, winning none at all, makes a player or a title run invalid, then we are dangerously close to disregarding an entire generation.
I don't think we're there. You guys let me know. I don't think we're there at all. I've never seen anything like this where it's you win one championship and it's invalid. How often do I talk about Dirk and Giannis?
Of players in the NBA. How much is an NBA championship worth? Well, if 30 years of evolution is the difference between Jordan's 6 matching Russell's 11, then maybe the last 30 years of the league's evolution is the difference between 2 or 3 today, matching Jordan's 6.
So that's the problem. Okay, I'm gonna go on a little rant and get out of here because this is a long video. I didn't mean to talk so much, but it is what it is. Something about this feels like disingenuous. Because why? What? Let me just go back to the end.
Of the league's evolution is the difference between 2 or 3 today, matching Jordan's 6.
That's the premise of it. That's really what the whole point of this video is. Why would 2 or 3 ever match Jordan's 6? Why are we having this conversation? Why? Because, guys, LeBron didn't do it. And all the LeBron fans know that LeBron didn't do it. He's not the GOAT. And all of his fans, including Jimmy, are frustrated as hell. And they're trying to move the goalposts and change the rules so that somebody can soon be the new GOAT and they don't have to hear about Michael Jordan ever again. That's the real goal. That's the campaign here. And to me, it's very easy to see. And that's why I offered so much pushback to a lot of these things that made zero sense to me. No, 1 doesn't equal 3. 3 doesn't equal 6. It's one Giannis championship doesn't make him greater than Michael Jordan. You know, it doesn't make him greater than Kobe Bryant. It doesn't make him greater than LeBron James or Steph Curry. No, 1 is 1, 6 is 6, 11 is 11, and we already talked about the difference between the 6 and the 11 there. You know, however, 1 means a lot. Okay. So just because you can't be the GOAT, the greatest of all time, just because you can't be in that category with 1 does not mean that it's invalidated and that it doesn't matter. It still matters. New York fans, how's that championship feel? Does it matter to you? I bet it does. Okay? So I don't want to hear that it doesn't matter because I know what it would mean for us here in Phoenix if we got one. Okay? However, yeah, you're not going to be jumped up there, at the top of the GOAT debate just because you won 1. No, we're not changing the qualifiers just because it's hard for people to do it right now, you know, and it's hard for people to accept $30 million instead of $40 million a year and stick together and defend your title. That's not my problem. That's not Michael Jordan's problem. That's not all the greats' problems from the past. They made a lot less money than these guys are now, yet they stayed together. So why would we let them have their cake and eat it too? No, you pick one. You pick the dynasty or you pick the extra money. One or the other. You don't get both. And you can either walk away a billionaire or you can walk away with 500 million and you might have 6 championships, you know? But then that legacy of having 6 championships is going to make you so famous that you're going to be a multi-billionaire, you know? AKA Michael Jordan and his path. He didn't make that much money in basketball, you guys. He made his money because he was so awesome and we bought all of his shit. We still do to this day. You know what I mean? So completely different. Everyone makes their own choices. I don't want to hear this kind of crap about people are making the choice, but then, yeah, oh, I should have taken the money. Now I'm sad. Hey, man, I don't want to hear that shit. You took the money. Be happy about your money. You know what I mean? Like, no. So, guys, I'm out of here. I want to hear what you guys have to say about this, because sometimes I watch a video and I think I'm taking crazy pills, and this was one of them. Like, I don't believe in these narratives. I don't think any of this is really valid. I think a championship is always valid, but 6 championships tells you a whole different story, and you belong to sit at a different table, and it should always be that way. With that, I'm out of here, guys. Like the video on the way out. Subscribe if you want more content like this. And most importantly, it's the be water, my friends. Peace out.